so we'll go ahead and get started. Again, this is our webinar series for ProLink Plus, which we host monthly, so thank you for being here. This is ProLink Plus, and this topic for our webinar today is the importance of homeowner outreach and education. Just a quick agenda. I'm going to go over some general information here at the beginning, and then a business presentation between Denise and I. We're going to discuss the importance of both those two topics, the education and the outreach piece for our homeowners. And then we're going to hand it off to Joe Collier with us to provide a live demo of how we're helping to contribute towards those efforts with ProLink Plus. I'm Bree Kruder. I'm the Executive VP for ProLink Solutions, so thank you for being here with us today. I'm joined by Joe Collier, who's our Senior Product Manager for ProLink, and then Denise Hutchinson, who is the Assistant Director of Single Family Mortgage Assistance and Compliance. So thank you, Denise. You've been with us a few times now on our presentations and webinars, and we always appreciate that. So I'll go ahead and get into our general information here. Just going over this webinar series, if you are new to this event or viewing it, after the fact and wondering what we cover in this series, the objective is to support our states with best practices in rolling out and running their HAF implementations throughout the program. So we are continuing this for the rest of the year. Our presenters, generally, we have a business level presenter, and then we include a technical presenter like Joe. This will allow us to cover the most recent kind of hot off the press business concerns that our agencies are facing as they're running their HAF programs. As that program continues to mature and different issues arise, we hope to cover those things in this webinar series and then discuss how that's handled, or at least assisted and support through technology through ProLink Plus. So we host this series on the third Wednesday of every month, and then in October it will stop, and we actually have a larger conference event in November, and then we will consider the resume of that series in the new year. So a new attendance, a new schedule would be issued in the 2023 year. The audience, the people that we like to reach through this series are our housing agencies nationally, and of course the allocating agencies for the HAF programs is really who this will certainly speak to. Just going over our next topic for June. Again, this is a monthly series, so our next topic will be held in June, and it'll be handling CDF challenges. Okay, moving on. Just quickly, a little overview of ProLink if you are not familiar with us. We have been in the affordable housing industry as a technology provider for 23-ish years now. Our clients, we really do support all the different constituents in the affordable housing industry at this point. We started with supporting state and local housing finance agencies with tax credit allocation and asset management. We have started to, since then, we've added some syndicators and investor clients who manage tax credits in that portfolio, and then developers as well who develop and apply for those tax credits from our state agencies. Additionally, we do support our kind of emergency relief program. So ProLink Plus is the product of what started as the Hardest Hit Fund product we served the market with earlier on when the Hardest Hit Fund was a program in the earlier 2000s. We supported that program. When COVID-19 became a reality for our country, we quickly updated that system, built out a lot of new functionality, which we have done a lot of partnering with Tennessee in filling out those gaps, and we're marching forward and supporting the HAF program now. We really do, for our work, we try our best to build holistic tools that support all the different people involved in running a program, everyone from the homeowner to our back office people, counselors, external parties. We try to bring them together and support them with the same tools as the best we can. And our team, we're made up of technologists first. We're a software company, but we do have experts in this industry at this point. We live and breathe affordable housing. It's all that we do. So we certainly have a lot of industry expertise across our company at this point. Moving into setting the stage for today's discussion with Denise. So up in front of us is Tennessee's HAF program. You can see in the previous webinars that we've hosted with Denise's involvement, I've showed this slide. It just summarizes their total allocation. So they have a $143 million allocation. You can see some of the KPIs and metrics that they've gathered about their population with a maximum household income that qualifies for assistance of 119,000, total assistance available per household of 40,000, and then 3.3% of mortgage holders delinquent for more than 90 days were the metrics at the very beginning of this program, setting the stage for that need for Treasury as well. So before I move on to that next slide, let's start the conversation, Denise. Let's start talking to each other. The first thing that I wanted to just kind of mention right off the bat is that hot off the press update from Treasury. So they recently brought out some kind of, I think it was like a spotlight on good practices, notable practices for other states to consider in running their program. And Tennessee was mentioned on 2 separate occasions. So do you want to talk about that publication and what that meant and kind of how you, what good things you've done to kind of get on that list so early on in this program?
Well, one of them that they mentioned was what we're talking about today, and that is help for the homeowners and how counseling can play into that. And one of the things they mentioned was the fact that we assign a counselor to somebody upon submission. So very early in the process, they have that resource they can reach out to. And also the video education that we have embedded in the software, that they have access to that from the very beginning. That gives them some information about loss mitigation options, some budgeting information. And we worked with you guys to create that. And that, I mean, I really think it's got a lot of great information in it. And I think it's engaging for the homeowner, and we've gotten great feedback on it so far. So with that, they mentioned both of those as being a promising practice and something they really stressed, having the counseling piece to this. And I think what they liked when we talked to them was the fact that we do it so early on. Upon submission, they're already assigned a counselor. And I think that's what impressed them. And we wanted to do that because from past experience, we've seen how sometimes they struggle with things. We've done different versions of that. The early program, they went straight to the counselors sent them to us. But then once they got approved, we paid up to 3 years worth of payments, and there was no further counseling ongoing. And so this time, once they're approved, if they're getting ongoing payments, they have that counselor working with them to help them prepare to come off those payments. And then if it's loss mitigation that they're approved for, we will bring them current, and then they work with that counselor and their servicer to see what loss mitigation options are available. And I have an example of how we hope that it works and how it has worked in this particular situation. We do have a 40,000 maximum, and we had a homeowner who was approved. They met all the criteria. They were $65,000 behind, and we only go to 40. So we could have just paid 40,000 and hope that everything went well, but that's not what we did. I called and got them hooked up with the counselor to go ahead and start working with them and their servicer before we paid out that money, to see how we could utilize that money and loss mitigation to get them in a better position. In their particular situation, the husband had not gone back to work yet, and their housing ratio was 103%. So it was extremely obvious that if we just paid 40,000 on that, and they still were behind 25,000 and at 103% housing ratio, it was not going to resolve their situation. So what we did was I reached out to the homeowner, explained to her what I was going to do. I reached out to the counseling agency, explained what I wanted them to do, and they got right on it. They started working with their servicer, and the servicer brought them current by doing a loss mitigation option. And then now we're going to be able to give them 6 months of payments. We're going to catch them. I think there are still like 2 payments behind. We're going to catch that up. We're going to give them 6 months of payments. The counselor is working with him to try to help him get back to work, get back on their feet so that they can hopefully afford that payment going forward. So that's how we hope these situations work out. And that was just one example where it did exactly what we had hoped it would do. And everybody worked together to make sure they have the best opportunity to keep that house going forward.
That's an awesome story. Is that something you were able to share with Treasury when they interviewed
I have
you?
not shared that one because that's very recent, actually, that just happened. So
that's great. I mean, this publication from Treasury is kind of timely because we had scheduled to talk about all of this on this webinar. As much as people might think we waited until this was published, it was actually scheduled before. So the timing is just perfect with them praising the effort that you guys have made so far with the homeowner education piece and the strategic outreach piece. So going in, we've kind of done some spoiler alerts. That Treasury publication does give us a little bit of a spoiler alert into some of the questions we still have remaining here. One of them being talking about that video that we put together with you, Denise. And can you discuss just like where that came from, what you were planning to do originally, and then how you came up with the content in that video, what you wanted to cover? And then, the end result too.
So when this very first started, we worked with our internal HUD counselors. We have a division that has internal HUD counselors, and they do counseling for various things. We worked with them, and we weren't exactly sure how we were going to set it up. This was when we were, getting the pilot ready to go before we even opened, how the counseling would work. We knew we wanted individual counseling at the end, but we also wanted everybody to have some benefit from a counseling or from some education around loss mitigation, because we knew that a lot of these people didn't even really understand what loss mitigation was, what forbearance was, what any of these things were that they were in the middle of going through. It was all new to a lot of these people. So we wanted to make sure they understood what had just happened to them and what they were probably still going through. So we worked with our internal counselors to do a quick video, and they used some of their HUD counseling information that they had available that they used to counsel folks. And they put together something for us with some budgeting and a little bit about loss mitigation. And then when ProLink offered to do a revised video, we jumped at that because we could add some more about loss mitigation, some more information, some more things had come available even since we had done our little in-house video. So I worked with your internal staff, and we even brought somebody from our loss mitigation manager from our servicing department so that he could share what he thought in a way that people would understand, what did they need to know about what they're experiencing, about loss mitigation options and forbearance and what all that means. So we got information from him. We got information from CFPB, who had published a lot of great information about things like that and things that were going on. And then the budgeting, some of that was taken from our original video that was created in-house by our HUD counselors, which comes again from their counseling information that they use. So we put it all together, and I think we added what we needed to add and made it, even better and more engaging. It's, professionally done. And so I'm really, really pleased with it. And like I said, we've gotten great feedback on it from homeowners. And the other thing we were able to include in the new one was some testimonials, because we had opened the program and we were able to include some real testimonials from people we have helped in their own words. And I think that is, to me, that if I'm watching that as a homeowner and I'm seeing this other person, real life person, telling me their experience and how it helped them, I think that's very impactful.
Absolutely. That's wonderful news. We love hearing those stories too. It makes a difference to everybody involved in this process to hear those. So that's fantastic. And it's an area of ProLink that we haven't really supported much in the past, is kind of that in-house creation of educational sharing the word, making sure people understand what they're getting into and what you're offering. And it's so important. And I think it really helps us to serve you better to see that end result in the messaging you're trying to send to those homeowners as well. So we appreciate that opportunity. And I know the next version is Spanish as well. So
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about your strategy towards addressing other languages with this video? I know Spanish is to be released soon, or is it already released?
I don't believe it's been released yet. I think it's being recorded. I think it's the translation's been done. I think it's just the voiceover that we're waiting for. But everybody, I've gotten great feedback on that as well. We do have a significant Spanish-speaking population in Tennessee. So we've already, translated documents so that they will have those available. We have Spanish-speaking counselors. We made sure there's Spanish-speaking people at the call center. So this is just one more area where we're making sure that, Spanish-speaking people who apply are getting their needs met with a language that is their primary language.
Good. And what do you think, as far as like metrics and how you plan to measure this approach and the success of this approach for Treasury, how do you envision that working with your team? What are you wanting to track and make sure? I know we talked about in previous meetings where there's certainly the people who reach this video through the portal. We also have just organic people. It's posted on your website, so people are falling into the video just organically exploring the Tennessee Housing website. So how are you differentiating those two and kind of measuring your success with some of these outreach efforts?
So we will track obviously everybody who accesses that through the system. But like you said, we do have that posted on our site where they don't have to access it through the ProLink system. They can go straight to THDA website and may watch that video without even having applied for the program. And we are notified whenever anybody views that video. So we will track that separately, and we will report that to Treasury that this was created, through the HAF program, but these, people are getting access to that without even having applied. So we're helping even more people than the ones who actually apply through the system. Because somebody may watch it and say, you know what, I need to call my service, or maybe I need loss mitigation, and they don't even apply for HAF funds, but they're still able to resolve their issue with their servicer directly because they were able to view that and see what options might be available.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a level of touch that wasn't previously, available in other programs and in, back in time kind of thing. The power of technology in the virtual world is providing that kind of by the click of a button, a lot of information that normally in the past would have required a counseling session or a call or some other level of touch. So that's great to hear. So, thinking about homeowner outreach and continuing just for a minute before we hand it over to Joe, is there anything else that you have planned as an agency to further your outreach? What other media platforms, other ways you're planning maybe in the future as this program continues to evolve, reach those homeowners?
So we did do an initial plan for marketing, which included, language in different language papers, different languages, different types of media, radio spots, newspaper, all that kind of thing. We wanted to reach a variety of people and make sure we're reaching people in the best way possible. So there was some research done in different counties and different things as to which method would reach the most people. So it's not going to be just a one size fits all. It's based on what we feel is going to reach the most people in whatever particular area we're doing the marketing in. And we are going to monitor that response. And part of what ProLink does is we do ask them how they heard about the program. So we are able to capture that information and we can evaluate that. I mean, we just started the paid marketing at the beginning of March. So it's still fairly early and we haven't done a whole lot of evaluation at this point yet. But I did see a significant increase. I could tell when that started because we could easily see a big boost in applications when that started. I want to say, I think it was maybe 40-something% in the first
Wow.
couple of weeks of
That's
the,
great.
I looked at how many average applications we were getting in the few weeks before, and then the same time period after the marketing started, and it was a significant boost. And that's possible because of the software. I'm able to go in and put dates and see what happened, and it's great. And that was one of the other notes that we got from Treasury, was the ability to see data in real time.
Exactly. That's what I was just about to say. Yeah. I mean, that was certainly something that was so, it was prominently mentioned in the promising practices for HAF programs, is that real-time data, making sure you can measure quickly, efficiently, and then pivot and change or add or take out.
Yeah.
So you guys can be as efficient as possible, which I think is just really awesome. So I'm glad you're feeling that way. I'm looking forward to seeing those metrics and those numbers evolve, and hopefully we can check back in with you.
Yeah, I would say we will probably definitely start doing some heavy evaluation in the next few weeks.
Okay.
Now that we've got a good period of time to look at. So
awesome. Well, it sounds like we might have a part 2 planned for a later date later on in the year. Denise, thank you very much. I think
You're welcome.
This point we should hand it over to Joe to begin his discussion in covering that software demo for us for the last few minutes here. And so I'll hand it over to you, Joe. You can take control of the screen. And then in the meantime, I will ask, or I will do myself, post that link to the Treasury, the article that we're referring to, because I think that'd be helpful for our attendees.
Okay, thank you.
Coming through okay? I plugged in a microphone because I wanted to be sure.
It's a little fuzzy.
A little fuzzy, huh?
There you go. I think you're good now.
We're good? All right, that was just a wardrobe malfunction then. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here. And all right, so are you seeing Tennessee Homeowner Assistance Fund, the login page? Hopefully.
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right. Off to a rousing start here. All right. So what I am going to show today is hopefully kind of both sides to this education video that Bree and Denise have been talking about. I will log in here. This is the Tennessee Homeowner Portal. I'm in a test environment right now. I have not actually applied for benefits from Tennessee, but I'll show what it looks like for an applicant to access that training video, what it looks like for them to take the training video. And then if there is time, I'll show what it looks like on the back end, sort of the controls that Tennessee has put in place to ensure that their applicants have completed that education before money goes out the door. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and log in here to the homeowner portal. And we are loading my application. All right. And as soon as I log in, I land on my application dashboard. This is where I'll see all sorts of information, what status my application is in. Scrolling down here, I can see who has been assigned to work on my application. I have an intake clerk. I also have a counselor who, again, I can pair with throughout this process to help me along and rely on for that educational piece. And speaking of the educational piece, so for Tennessee, just for you, Denise, we embed a message up here at the top of the dashboard, and it says, we recommend you take our education class, which contains valuable information about your options for support. If you are approved, you'll be required to take the class. Please register and take the course here. And so this is the same link that an actual applicant will follow. And so I'll go ahead and click on it and show you guys what this looks like. So this launches a screencast where we are hosting the video. And then when I go ahead and click on the play button here, I enter my name and my email address, and I'm going to go ahead and enter fake information here because I don't want to mess with your actual processes. But then I submit and continue. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put this into full screen here. And hopefully you guys can hear the video starting.
Yep.
So, yeah, so it's much longer than we have time to watch all the way through. First thing I'll point out, it's divided into a number of
We are now over
sections.
2 years into the coronavirus pandemic.
Really quickly. Loan modification, refinancing, partial claims, a lot of these kind of confusing things that have such a big impact on what benefits you're eligible for and how the HAF program is going to go for you. Then we get into budgeting. How does a budget work? How can you set up goals? Even crisis budgeting. What happens when it all hits the fan? How can you still make it work? Again, no time to go through every section
Well,
today,
everyone has
but the next thing I will point out is that each section is capped with a quiz. So I have moved to the end of our refinancing section and I am prompted with a quiz. What is refinancing? I know it's this first answer, so go ahead and submit that. Go ahead and continue. And we'll skip ahead to our next section. Again, a quiz pops up. So as I go through this video, we have quizzes that pop up along the way that as someone who's taking this class, I am required to answer and answer correctly before I'm able to move on. So there's a little bit of verification that things are going appropriately. So what is the SMART method to setting goals? Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-based. Definitely something I can work on in my own budgeting. So anyway, after I have gone through this class, completed all of the quizzes, at the end of the day, we will send an email to Tennessee with information on everyone who has taken the class and if they have successfully passed it. So we are a bit short on time, but on the back end, Tennessee then takes that information and updates the proper applications in their system, and those applications can't move forward to a disbursement, to money going out the door, until that certificate has come through, until that education has been completed. So it really is a two-sided process, and as you can see, fairly straightforward to getting into this training video. And again, it's been a pleasure to partner with Denise and team to get this set up, and we are so happy that it has been successful so far. So with that, I will wrap my very brief demo. Go ahead and pause the video here, and Bree, if you'd like to take it back over to wrap up our webinar today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Joe. Okay, so just quickly coming back to my screen here to announce our next webinar really quick. So for that HAF webinar series, the next topic, which I'm sure hopefully will be a popular one because this tends to come up a lot in conversation. So I would think a lot of agencies will be interested in talking about handling CDF challenges with ProLink Plus, but just in general, the issues faced by agencies, the obstacles that are commonly experienced by states and servicers, and the benefits of CDF and why we need it in this program. So that is coming up on Wednesday, June 15th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's our next ProLink Plus focused webinar series.
And can I really quickly, there is a new version of the CDF that is currently undergoing final review, and we should have, that should be going live about this time frame. So in addition to how do we handle the how do we handle it in our software, we'll also go over the changes and what that means for your HAF program.
Cool. Well, great. Thank you guys, everybody, for your attendance. We really do appreciate the ongoing conversation. If you have any topics or things you're hoping to see us come up with in this webinar series, please feel free to contact us. We'd love to hear from you and get those ideas. My contact information is visible now on this slide, and we hope you all have a great week. We hope we see you in June for our CDF event. And thank you, Denise, again for your participation.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.